He, just like me, is another fellow county chair, so we appreciate all of his hard work over in Clayton County. I'm proud to introduce Brian Bruning.
I also have notes because my real job is I own and run a restaurant, and I'm back of the house. Speaking in front of people, I forget things all the time, so I need to have it written down. But first of all, I want to thank Joe and the Howard County Democrats for hosting this event and for inviting me here. It's as a candidate, but also as a chair of the county party, it's really reassuring to me to see Democrats come out and support candidates and hear about the issues. So that's there. And I also want to call out to Richard, class of '95. I also graduated class of '95 in New Hampton. So class of '95 represent.
Maybe we're a rival.
I know, that's what I was saying. It's nice to be in Howard County on a friendly basis. Usually it was as a rivalry. The Howard High School is, Howard County High School, Cresco High School is the closest kind of to us. So we did homecoming games a lot, back and forth. And so I have to say, I apologize for any disparaging messages I may have written as a high school student about Cresco and your school. I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, so I apologize for that. And I promise to do better in the future. But as Joe said, my name is Brian Bruning, and I am proud to run for the state senate for District 32. And District 32, as you probably know, starts in Howard County, goes all the way across the top to Alameda and down to Clayton, and has a little bit of Fayette and Dubuque counties. I moved to Elkader in 2006 with my partner Frederick to start Shara's Restaurant. And Shara's Restaurant is located right on Main Street, Elkader. And in my 18 years, almost 18 years at Shara's, I have witnessed firsthand the resilience and strength of our small towns in this district. Our restaurant is still thriving today, but I know my success, our success, is intertwined with the success of Elkader's downtown and the broader community. When we have visitors from Des Moines or Davenport to come up, they don't just dine with us. They also stay at the local bed and breakfast. They grab a coffee at the local cafe, and they explore the unique shops on Main Street. Because we're all into this together. Our fates are tied together. I often talk about the importance of community interdependence. None of us thrive in isolation. Yet, after over a decade of Republican control of Iowa's government, the quality of life in Iowa has steadily eroded. Their policies have torn apart the very fabrics of our communities. We've seen the detrimental impacts of private education vouchers that siphon funds from our public schools, the disastrous legislation that has undermined our AEAs, and the privatization of Medicaid that has left our rural hospitals and nursing homes struggling, some even closing their doors. They have enacted one of the strictest abortion bans in the country, leaving women without essential care and creating an environment so hostile to our doctors that we now have among the fewest OBGYNs in the nation per capita.
Yeah.
Worse.
Our teachers, change the page here. Our teachers, instead of being trusted to guide our children, are now micromanaged by politicians who have never stepped foot in a classroom. That makes no sense to me. Every time a local school or hospital closes, it signals a deeper crisis. We risk losing our young people to cities in other states that offer better opportunities, because when a family leaves, small businesses suffer, and our communities are hollowed out. My opponent, Mike Klemesh, has done little to address any of these pressing issues. You can take a look at his voting record, which I have published at mikeklemesh.com. He also doesn't know his website address, I do. But yes, I'll let every one of his votes on all these issues are listed in there for you to take a look at. The unraveling that we are witnessing is rooted in the Republicans' relentless push for privatization and deregulation, an effort to undermine government's roles in our lives. But regulation isn't a dirty word. It's what keeps us safe. It ensures that the food we eat is safe, that the water we drink is safe, and that the products we use are reliable. Meanwhile, mega legislators love to impose regulations on our personal lives while turning blind eye to corporations that shower them with political donations. They dictate what women can do with their bodies, what health care our children can access, and even what books they can read. But they have little interest in regulating CAFOs and nitrate runoff that affect every single one of us and our quality of life. Our state's motto was recently changed from fields of opportunity to freedom to flourish. But this begs the question, who is really flourishing in Iowa?
Exactly.
It's certainly not the families struggling in our small towns or the young people who are leaving our state for better prospects elsewhere. We need to act now. Among the first things I will do is introduce a constitutional amendment to guarantee every Iowan's right to clean water and air. I will advocate for stricter oversight of agricultural pollution and increased funding to fight our rising cancer rates, exacerbated by our current do-nothing policies. We need to restore support for our public schools, for our AEAs, and repeal the harmful legislation that has undermined so many of our communities and our personal and parental freedoms. Together, we can repair the damage done by Mike Klemesh and his colleagues. We must prioritize our local needs over divisive political theater that has been so much of what the legislature has done this last session and the last 4 years that Mike Klemesh has been in office. I am committed to advocating for all the people of District 32, as well as all the people across our state. This election is critical. Who we send to Des Moines to represent us is important. I care deeply about our community because this is my home. I chose to live here, and I want to make a better life for all of us. I ask for your support as I travel across this district, whether through donations or volunteering. Every effort counts. Please visit my website, brooningforiowa.com, to learn about how you can help. But most importantly, talk to your friends and family. I have cards here that talk about my positions. Share those with your friends and neighbors, members of your church. Get the word out and let them know that I need their vote to help make all of our communities stronger. So I thank you for your time, and I ask for your vote and for your help. Let's work together to make a better Iowa. Thank you. That's kind of how I do things. So my background, so I have an MA or a BA in English and an MFA in poetry creative writing. So I'm more of a writer than a speaker, so that's how I tend to do things. But I will open the floor up if anybody has any questions.
Are you going to have the opportunity to debate Mike Klemesh?
There is nothing specifically set up. There's a couple of forums that will be taking place. One in in Volga City on the 15th, which is a forum, and then another on the 23rd at Luther College. But these are not specific debates. These are just forums with questions and answer periods.
How would you feel about sponsoring an initiative in our Iowa legislature that would allow voter initiatives?
Instead of having to go through the legislature to do Absolutely. Absolutely. I think.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. So the question was, would I support a change in the Constitution that would allow actual voters to put forward constitutional amendments and not be dependent on the state legislature to put those forward? And I absolutely agree with that. I think it's a good idea. Really, I know why it was put into place. A lot of what the Iowa Constitution, so the Iowa Constitution is very similar to the Massachusetts Constitution. That was the model on it. And the idea was to put roadblocks in place so that the rashness of the voting public didn't change things too fast. And so we've seen some of the challenges with there. I don't know if you follow California politics at all. it's Wild West out there a lot of times, because it's very, very easy to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot, which is why they can't raise property tax there. And it's really hurt their budget. So that is one side of it, and the other side of it is where we are, where it's nearly impossible for the people to rise up and make a difference in how they want their government to run, or how they want the laws to go forward. And so I favor something in the middle. There is okay to have stops in making it a little bit more challenging to do it, but there needs to be an avenue for voters who get together to put forward an amendment to the Constitution, for them to get it on and not have to be dependent on two successive legislatures.
And one of the reasons that I'm thinking of that is, as this lady mentioned, how many of these items went through our legislature currently without public majority approval?
Well, I would
That's about the
venture
only
to
way I
say
see of getting muzzled.
that AEA had a lot of public input, and they still did it anyway.
Exactly.
So our state legislator,
They had no teeth.
our current one, Ann Osmondson, is our state representative. And she,
Sorry.
her daughter worked for me for 5 years, so I have very, very disturbing stories to tell about Ann Osmondson, but we'll leave that for another time. She's retiring, but one of the reasons why she's retiring, and she probably won't admit it, but I know this is the reason why, is that she got more calls and letters and emails and people stopping her on the street about the AEA bill than any other bill in her entire career, and she was shocked. Shocked that people were so up in arms about it, and she couldn't understand why people wouldn't just leave her alone. And in the end, when they actually pushed it through 2 days before the end of the session, she happened to be absent that day. So they don't care what the public has to say, because the legislature is so gerrymandered in various things, they don't have to care what you say. And that is why I think those kind of changes into how we can put forward amendments are so important. So yes, I think you bring up a really important thing, and if we appreciate an actual democracy in our state, that needs to change.
What are the numbers in the Senate? How many seats do we need to pick up to get the majority?
We need one to just stop her from appointing people, right? If we pick up one Senate seat.
Yeah, so that's I think the way we gotta look at it. This changeover is not gonna happen overnight. We have to think about incremental change in doing that. So the most important thing is to hold the seats that we have and flip 1 or 2 seats to take away their supermajority. Because then they can't just appoint anybody they want to willy-nilly.
Right.
So that is
We need
super.
just one seat.
1 seat.
We need one more Senate seat.
Super, yeah, so that is super important to do that, and if he,
Like the chair of education.
Yes.
The new education director is.
Appointed by our governor with no input,
education
because
experience.
she's got the trifecta. We pick up one seat, she stops doing that.
absolutely.
She at least has to run it by the Democrats.
Yeah, so, cause here's the thing, the Democrats had a trifecta at one point, but for most of my time growing up, it was a combined government. And you know what? Crazy stuff did not come through the legislature at those times, because you had to work with other people. We lose something. I think that's why we've lost so much in the last 10 years. There's no checks on it. The Supreme Court has been completely changed, so there's no checks in the judicial system. To bring some balance to the state, we really need some balance in the legislature. So that's why it's so important. So the Senate, that is a long road to take. It's going to take a generational change, I think, in getting people involved, and getting people out to vote and changing people's minds. And regardless of the outcome of this race, I am committed to doing that kind of work in this district. But those little changes that we can make right away is that we can flip that one seat.
Hold what we got.
Yeah.
Like, hold what we got.
Always hold what we got. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And I will be in Dorcor tomorrow, so you can see it on my encore show tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. We greatly appreciate you coming over to Howard County, and we hope to